There's not a mother in this world who would watch her child cry in the street, stand and watch her weep. There's not a mother in this world who wouldn't give up her own life for the life of her child. There's not a mother in this world who wouldn't be happy to have a home for her family.
And furthermore, irrespective, the woman may be very rich, the wife may be very rich, or she may be poor. Irrespective whether the husband is rich or poor, it is yet the duty of the husband to look after the food, clothing, lodging, and on financial aspects of the wife. He cannot say, okay, my wife is rich, I'm poor, yet it is his duty. Furthermore, just in case, if divorce takes place, or if a woman gets widowed, she gets maintenance for the idda period, for the waiting period. And if she's pregnant, it extends till she gives delivery of the child, till she gives birth of the child. And if the child is born, she even gets financial support till the child grows up. Furthermore, in Islam, a woman even inherits. In many religions, the woman is not allowed to inherit. She does not have any share in the property left behind by her family members. But in Islam, the woman inherits. There are on many occasions where non-Muslims, they object and they say, fine, in Islam women do inherit, but why do they inherit half? Trying to say that Islam subjugates the woman. But if you analyze the logic behind it, you'll understand the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of our Creator, Almighty God. As I mentioned a few minutes earlier, in Islam, it is the man who bears the financial burden. Before woman is married, it is the father and the brother. After she's married, it is the husband and the son who looks after her lodging, boarding, clothing, and all financial aspects. If you read the Quran, the inheritance is given in several places. In Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 180. In Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 240. In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 79. In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 19. In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 33. In Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 106 to 108. In several places. But the most specific share division is given in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 11 and 12. Where it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained that in what you leave your wealth for your children, the sons get double the share of the daughters. If only daughters, 2 or more, they share into third. If only one, she gets half. The verse continues. In what you leave for your parents, each get 1/6 if you have children. The mother gets 1/3 if there are no children. And the verse continues. In what your wives leave for you, you get half if there are no children. You get 1/4 if there are children. What you leave for your wives, they get 1/4 if there are no children. They get 1/8 if you have children. Don't confuse yourself. Go back home, open the Quran, Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse number 11 and 12. Easy. I do agree that most of the times, the women inherit half the amount what the men inherit. But there are occasions when they inherit equal. For example, 1/6 both for the parents, for mother and father, if they have children. But if they don't have children, mother gets 1/3. That means double than that of the father. But I do agree with you, as a whole, most of the times, the woman inherit half. Son gets double than that of the daughter. Husband gets double than that of the wife, most of the time. What is the logic behind it? The logic is, as I mentioned, since man is the person who takes the financial burden, and suppose there's a person who dies, and after giving the shares of the other people, if $150,000 or 150,000 rupees is balanced for the children after giving the shares of the other relatives. If $150,000, 150,000 rupees is balanced, and that man has got one daughter and one son, the son will get $100,000 or 100,000 rupees, and the daughter will get $50,000 or 50,000 rupees. People will say injustice. Why did the daughter get half? But the logic behind it is the man has the financial burden. I am asking a question, would you want to inherit $100,000 or 100,000 rupees and spend 80 or 90% of that, what you have inherited, on the family if you are a man? Or would you prefer inheriting $50,000 or 50,000 rupees and not spending a single penny or single paisa on the family? If you are a man and if you inherit $100,000, 100,000 rupees, maybe 80 or 90% goes on the family. What is left with you? 10,000, 20,000 rupees or dollars. If you're a woman, you get $50,000 or 50,000 rupees, 100% you keep for yourself. So would you prefer inheriting 100,000 and keeping only 10, 20,000 with you, or would you prefer inheriting 50,000 and keeping everything with you? If Allah would have given equal amount to both, then I would have to give a talk on men's rights in Islam. When Allah has given the rights, He's even equal. If He has put the financial burden on the men, He sees to it that the men get double. Otherwise it will be injustice. And the Quran says in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 40, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never unjust in the least degree. So if you know the hikmah behind it, you'll realize that the guidance given by our Creator is the best. Just because the women in Islam are financially more secured than the men, what would you say? The women in Islam, are they protected or are they subjugated? Let's discuss the social rights of the women in Islam. I have broadly divided the social rights of women in Islam into 4 subcategories. The rights of the daughter in Islam, the rights of the wife in Islam, the rights of the mother in Islam, and the rights of the sister in Islam. First, we'll discuss the rights of the daughter in Islam. The Quran prohibits the killing of any female child or female infant. The Quran says in Surah Takwir, chapter number 81, verse number 8 and 9, that when the female child is buried alive, and when she's asked, for what crime was she killed? Quran prohibits the killing of female children and female infants. The Quran does not only prohibit the killing of female infants, it prohibits the killing of all infants, all children, whether male or female. Quran says in Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 151, that kill not your children for want of sustenance, for it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will give sustenance to you and your children. Allah repeats the message in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 31. Kill not your children for want of sustenance, for it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will give sustenance to your children and you. For killing of children is a major sin. There was a program that came on BBC. The name of the program, Assignment, and the title was Let Her Die. There was a British reporter. There was a British reporter by the name of Emily Beckonen, who comes from UK and does a survey of India, and she says that every day more than 3,000 fetuses are being aborted in India after they are identified that they are females. If you multiply this figure by 365, the number of days in a year, you get a total of more than 1 million fetuses are being aborted in India alone after they are identified that they are females. And according to the Tamil Nadu government hospital report, it says out of 10 female children born alive, in the Tamil Nadu government hospital, 4 are put to death. And there are big billboards and hoardings in states such as Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu saying, spend 500 rupees and save 500,000 rupees. Indicating, spend 500 rupees and do the ultrasonography. Identify that the child you're carrying is a female and abort her and save the couple of lakhs in upbringing her and the balance few lakhs in dowry. Spend 500 rupees and save 500,000 rupees. Very good bargain. Because of this evil practice of female infanticide and female feticide, you find the sex ratio in India, it is imbalanced. According to the census of 1901, for every 1,000 males in India, there were 972 females in 1901 census. As science and technology is advancing, you can identify easily whether the child is a male or a female. So as science and technology is advancing, the women are being subjugated. According to the census of 1981, in India, for every 1,000 males, there were 934 females. According to the census of 1991, for every 1,000 males, there were 927 females. You know, science, technology advancing, women are being subjugated. As I told you, the Western talk of women's liberalization is nothing but a disguised form of exploitation of body, deprivation of honor, and degradation of a soul. If this evil practice of female infanticide and female feticide stops, even in India, in the next few decades, the male and the female ratio, inshallah, would become equal.
Who wouldn't give up her own life for the life of her child?
رمضان المحسنين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Asim Luqman Al-Hakim. On this occasion of this holy month of Ramadan, the month of mercy and love, I greet you and I wish you a happy Ramadan.
This Ramadan,
Welcome, O Ramadan.
Ramadan, the month of blessings. Suhr, Iftar, Taraweeh, Laylatul Qadr, Aitikaf, Eidul Fitr, and many other practices that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did in this month of fasting. I'll be there for you throughout this glorious month of Ramadan. Let's make it more fruitful and reward-worthy. Share a date with me every day throughout this month of Ramadan.
watch 1-hour exclusive episodes. Ramadan, a date with Dr. Zakir, every day at 7:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 11:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV.
Who wouldn't give up her own life for the life of her child?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our great almighty God, does not only prohibit the killing of female children, it even rebukes the thought of a person becoming sad at the news of a female child. Quran says in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 50 and 59, that when news is brought to one of them of the birth of a female child, his face darkens and he's filled with inward grief. And he starts thinking that should he let her live in contempt or should he bury her alive? Ah, what an evil thought. The Quran rebukes the thought of a person becoming sad at the news of a birth of a female child. Leave aside killing, even becoming sad at the news of a birth of a female child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like it. He rebukes it. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, it's mentioned in Sahih Hadith, volume number 4. The beloved Prophet said that anyone who upbrings 2 daughters with love and affection till they grow up, they'll be as close to me as these 2 fingers on the day of judgment. And he kept both his 2 fingers together. There's another Sahih Hadith in which the Prophet said that anyone who brings two daughters with love and affection till they grow, they shall enter Jannah. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he did not only talk about equality, he actually practiced it. Once there was a man who kissed his son and placed him on one of his laps, but did not do the same for his daughter. The Prophet objected and said that the man was unjust. He should have even kissed his daughter and placed her on the other lap. Now we'll discuss the rights of the wife in Islam. Most of the other religions besides Islam, they consider the woman as an instrument of the devil. But the Quran refers to the woman as a muhsana. Muhsana in Arabic means a fortress against the devil. Because a pious woman who's on the straight path, she prevents the husband from deviating and going on the wrong track and keeps him on the Siratul Mustaqim. Therefore, she's called as muhsana, a fortress against the devil. The Quran in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 21, refers to marriage, to nikah, as a sacred covenant. It's a sacred covenant, a sacred contract between the husband and wife. The Quran says in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 21, that we have created for you mates from amongst yourselves, so that you may live with them in tranquility. And He has put love and mercy between your hearts. The beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of Nikah, chapter number 3, hadith number 5066. The beloved Prophet said, "O young people, whoever has the means to get married should get married." The beloved Prophet also said, there is no monasticism in Islam. And the Prophet said, anyone who marries, he completes half his deen. Once during question answer time, there was a person who asked me, that does it mean that if I marry twice, will I complete my full deen? What did the Prophet mean when he said that marriage completes half your deen? Marriage prevents you from promiscuity, from fornication, from homosexuality. Only if you marry do you have an opportunity to be a husband or a wife. Only if you marry do you have an opportunity to be a father or mother, which are very important duties in Islam. So irrespective whether you marry once or twice, you only complete half your deen. In Islam, for a marriage to solemnize, taking the permission of both would be husband and wife. The man and the woman is equally important. The Quran says in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 19, do not inherit the woman against their wishes. There's a hadith which is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, book of Nikah, chapter number 43, hadith number 5138. A lady by the name of Khansa bint Khadim al-Ansariya, she approached the Prophet and said that my father has married me to a person against my wishes. The Prophet, he nullified the marriage. There's another Sahih hadith which is mentioned in Ahmad ibn Hanbal, hadith number 2469, where a lady approaches the Prophet and says that my parents have forced me to marry a man against my wishes. And the Prophet said she has the option of either continuing the marriage or nullifying the marriage. There's a similar hadith mentioned in Ibn Majah, hadith number 1875. It's the same hadith. A woman approaches the Prophet and tells her that my parents have forced me to marry against my wishes. And the Prophet says, you can either continue the marriage or you can nullify the marriage. And the woman says, I continued the marriage, but I wanted the woman to know that the parents cannot force their daughters to marry someone who they don't like. The Quran says in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 228, that the women have rights similar to those against them on terms equitable, but the men have a degree of advantage. Based on this verse of the Quran, men and women are equal except in leadership. The Quran clearly says that the women have rights, those similar to them, on terms equitable, but the men have a degree of advantage. Now, many of the Muslims, they misunderstand this ending phrase that the men have a degree of advantage, and they think that men are superior. And they quote the verse of the Quran, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa," that the men are superior to the women. So Allah has said, the men have degree of advantage, the men are superior. What they're quoting is the verse of the Quran which was recited by a wonderful Qari from Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 34, which says, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa," that the men are the qawwam of the women. What is the meaning of the Arabic word qawwam? Qawwam comes from the root word aqama, which means to stand up for. How we have aqama before salah, we stand up for salah. So this Arabic word qawwam means the men have 1 degree of additional responsibility and 1 degree additional service towards the woman, not 1 degree of superiority to boss over the woman. And if you read the tafsir of Tabari, he says the Arabic word qawwam means 1 degree of additional responsibility. Because if you read the verse ahead, the verse says that Allah has given men more strength than the women. So because of that advantage, it's the duty of the men that they should take care of the woman, they should not boss over her. Furthermore, Quran says in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 19, that treat your wives with equity and kindness, even if you dislike her. Means even if you don't like your wife, yet treat her with love and compassion. And treat her kindly, even if you dislike her. Even if you dislike her, treat her with kindness and compassion. And in Islam, we do not consider calling the women as housewives. Housewives. You know, housewife, if you analyze, means she's married to the house. In Islam, we don't consider our women, they're married to the house, to be called housewives. You know, in English we have, what is their profession? Housewife. We in Islam prefer calling the women as homemakers because they make the home, they build the home. So inshallah, I believe that the ladies from now onwards, when they have to fill any form, instead of writing the profession, if they are not to write housewife, that's the English terminology. They are marrying you to your house. Prefer mentioning homemaker, because the woman builds the home, they make the home. And in Islam, a woman is not married to a master to be treated like a slave. She is married to an equal, and the role is that of partnership.